I always thought betrayal would come from the outside, from some stranger, a thief, a liar on the street. Never did I expect it to come from under my own roof, from my own blood. Name's Daniel Walker. I'm a mechanic, born and raised in Lincoln, Nebraska. I work hard, live quiet, don't ask much from life. Fixing engines, changing tires, it's honest work. I like the rhythm of it. I come home to a small but tidy house on the edge of town, where my wife, Rachel, usually has something cooking and our golden retriever, Buddy, waits at the door like clockwork. I married Rachel 6 years ago. She was smart, sweet, and smiled like she meant it. We met at a 4th of July barbecue, one of those loud, beer-soaked affairs my dad insisted on throwing every summer. She was a friend of a friend. Something about the way she looked at me, like I was someone worth looking at, got under my skin. We weren't perfect, but who is? We had some ups and downs, like any married couple. Bills piling up, missed calls, arguments about nothing. But I loved her. I never even thought to doubt her. Until the day I found her phone in the laundry basket. It was late. I'd just finished a 12-hour shift at the shop. My back was killing me, and all I wanted was a hot shower and some peace. I tossed my uniform into the hamper, and there it was, her phone, buried in a tangle of clothes. It lit up with a text just as I reached for it. "Miss you already. Last night was something else." No name. Just a number I didn't recognize. My chest tightened. I stared at the screen, hoping there was some explanation. Some innocent reason. But then another message popped up. "He's clueless. Just like you said." That's when I knew. I knew in my bones something was off. My hand shook as I scrolled back, heart hammering like a piston. There were more messages. Dozens. Most of them were vague enough to pretend they were innocent, but I wasn't born yesterday. I could read between the lines. One message stuck out. "You've always been better than him. You know that. I wish we didn't have to sneak around, but it makes it hotter, doesn't it?" And then I saw it. "Don't forget to erase these. He's not stupid. D." The message was signed with just that. One letter. I stood there frozen. Daniel? No. That was me. And she wouldn't sign her own text. My mind raced through everyone we knew. Who could it be? David from church? Derek from work? And then it hit me. Like a freight train. Don. My father. Don Walker. I dropped the phone like it had burned me. The room spun. I tried to breathe, but every inhale felt like glass in my throat. My father. The man who taught me how to fish. Who took me to baseball games. Who stood by my side at my wedding, smiling like the proudest man alive. I wanted to scream. To cry. To throw something. But I just stood there, staring into nothing. Rachel came into the room a few minutes later, humming to herself, a towel wrapped around her damp hair. She saw the phone on the floor in my face. Whatever it looked like must have scared her, because she stopped cold. "What's wrong?" she asked, her voice tight. I didn't answer. Couldn't. I just walked past her, slow and stiff, and stepped out onto the porch. The air was thick and humid. The cicadas screamed in the trees. I sat on the steps and stared into the dark yard, trying to piece together how my whole world had just shattered without a sound. I thought about confronting her right then. About calling my father and demanding answers. But something stopped me. No. I needed to know more. I needed the truth. The full truth. Because if I was going to act, it couldn't be out of impulse. It had to be surgical. Cold. Perfect. And that night, sitting alone under the stars, I made a promise to myself. A quiet vow. I wasn't going to shout. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to watch. Wait. And when the time was right, I would burn everything they cared about to the ground. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed beside Rachel, listening to the rhythm of her breath, calm, steady, like nothing was wrong. Like she hadn't just ripped my heart out and handed it to my father. She reached for me in the night, curled her arm around my chest. I let her. Pretended I was asleep. I counted the seconds until dawn. The next morning, I acted like nothing had changed. Kissed her on the cheek, ate my eggs, took Buddy for his walk like I always did. But inside, something had shifted. A switch had flipped. I wasn't Daniel Walker, the husband, the son. I was a man with a mission now. And that mission started with confirmation. I needed proof. No maybes. No assumptions. Just cold, clear evidence. I started with the basics. Her phone, of course. I watched her for the next few days. How she clung to it. How she never left it unattended again. She must have known she'd slipped up. But it didn't matter. People get lazy when they think they're safe. She always left for her yoga class on Wednesdays. Gone 2 hours, came back glowing. I decided to follow her. I left the shop early that day. Told Jim, my boss, that Buddy had swallowed something weird. Half-truth. He let me go, no questions asked. I drove Rachel's route, but stayed 2 cars behind. She didn't go to the gym. She drove out of town. Past the school, past the grocery store. Out toward the lake. My stomach twisted as I followed her car down a dirt path that led to a secluded cabin, one I knew all too well. My dad's fishing cabin. I parked far enough away not to be seen, cut the engine, and got out on foot. The wind rustled the trees, and the lake glistened through the leaves. Then I saw them. Through the blinds of the cabin, I saw Rachel. She was laughing. My dad stood beside her, pouring 2 glasses of wine. They looked relaxed, comfortable. Like this wasn't some fling. Like this had been going on for a long time. I watched her kiss him. Not fast or clumsy like in a moment of weakness. It was soft. Familiar. My stomach turned. I backed away slowly, careful not to snap a twig. I made it back to my truck and sat there, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. That was all the confirmation I needed. But confirmation wasn't enough. I needed understanding. I needed to know how long this had been going on. How deep the betrayal ran. That weekend, I drove out to my parents' house. Mom had died 3 years ago, lung cancer. Dad lived alone now. He'd aged quickly since her passing, or so I thought. Now I wondered if the guilt had worn him down, not the grief. "Hey, sport," he said, opening the door. "Didn't expect you today." "Just in the area," I said. "Figured I'd stop by." He let me in. We talked about football, the weather, work. He acted normal. Too normal. The man who used to help me build treehouses and fix bicycles was gone. Replaced by a coward in a mask. I looked around the living room. There was a scarf on the arm of the couch, Rachel's. I recognized the pattern. She'd said she'd lost it. My jaw clenched. I left not long after that. Gave him a hug. It felt like hugging a snake. On the way home, I thought about my mother. She deserved better than him. She'd been good to both of us. If she were alive to see this. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I started a notebook. At home, I took to writing down everything. Dates, times, places. Patterns. Wednesday. Yoga. Saturday. Errands. Random messages from D in her call log. I even planted a cheap voice recorder in her car. Just a little plug-in under the seat. She'd never notice. The things I heard made my skin crawl. Once she said, "It's like he doesn't even exist anymore." Another time, I'm so glad it's you. You make me feel like I'm real again. And worst of all, my father replied, you were never meant for him. You were meant for me. Meant for him. Meant for him? Something in me broke then. Not all at once. More like a hairline fracture spreading through concrete. I started imagining things. Scenarios. What I'd say. What I'd do. How I'd make them pay. But not yet. Not until I had every piece of the puzzle. They thought they were smart. That they could lie to my face, and I'd just keep smiling, keep fixing their cars, and building their shelves, and cooking their damn dinners. But they underestimated me. And soon, they'd regret it. Because now I wasn't just documenting. I was planning. And when the moment came, it would be precise. Cruel. Final. You don't just go after your father and your wife on a whim. You plan it. You study them. You make sure the knife doesn't just cut, it carves. I became two people. One version of me kept showing up to work, cracking jokes, fixing cars, smiling at Rachel like nothing was wrong. The other version, the real one, was always watching, listening, calculating. I kept the notebook locked in my toolbox at the shop, under the bottom tray, wrapped in a greasy rag. I reviewed it every night like a soldier studying a map. Their patterns were as predictable as the tide. Wednesday cabin meetups. Saturday late-night calls. They were creatures of habit. That made it easy. I started laying the groundwork slowly. The first step was trust, rebuilding it. Or rather, making them think I was oblivious again. I asked Rachel if she wanted to go away for the weekend. Just the two of us. She looked surprised, then relieved. Yeah, she said. That sounds really nice. She told me she'd check her schedule. She didn't say no. That told me she was trying to juggle something behind the scenes, him. I smiled and kissed her forehead. Take your time, I said. We've got all the time in the world. The second step was bait. I told my dad I needed help with an old motorcycle I'd picked up from a junkyard auction. Told him it was for Rachel. Her birthday was coming up. I could almost see the guilt flash behind his eyes when I said it. Sure, he said. Bring it by the garage next week. Perfect. While he was distracted helping me fix the bike, I planted something in his truck. A burner phone, preloaded with photos. Not of him. Not yet. Just random women. Just enough to raise questions if Rachel ever happened to find it. Because this wasn't just about revenge. This was about confusion. Doubt. Making them turn on each other. The third step was leverage. I went out to the cabin one night, late, and installed a hidden camera in the vent. Small, motion-activated, synced to my phone. I wasn't proud of it. But I needed that footage. And I got it. 3 nights later, they were there again. Same wine. Same routine. Same betrayal. But this time, it was recorded. Every kiss. Every whisper. I downloaded it all, and saved it twice, on a flash drive hidden in the lining of my truck, and in the cloud under a fake name. Insurance. I stared at the footage for hours. Not out of pain anymore, but to study them. The way they touched. The words they used. I wasn't watching lovers. I was watching targets. By now, the lines inside me had blurred. I didn't feel married anymore. I didn't feel like a son. I felt like a man walking through fire, and the only way out was through both of them. That weekend, I told Rachel I'd be going to a parts expo in Omaha. She smiled too quickly. Enjoy it, she said, almost relieved. You deserve a break. I wasn't going anywhere. That night, I parked 2 blocks down and walked back to the house. Waited in the shadows until I saw her car leave. She'd packed a little overnight bag. I followed from a distance. As expected, she headed straight to the cabin. This was it. Everything was in place. Tomorrow, I would confront my father. The cabin would be empty then, Rachel at work, Dad back home. I knew his habits. He always stopped by the cabin after she left, just to clean up before I got suspicious. It was a ritual. But what he wouldn't expect was me, waiting. And when he walked through that door, he wouldn't find cleaning supplies. He'd find me. And all the rage I'd been swallowing for weeks. The morning air was cold, even in late spring. The kind of cold that settles in your bones, not your skin. I didn't sleep the night before, too focused, too wired. I left Buddy with a neighbor, told her I was heading out of town for the weekend. Packed a duffel bag with gloves, rope, and the flash drive. Not because I planned on using it. Just in case I needed to remind my father exactly what I knew. I reached the cabin at 6:45 a.m. His truck usually rolled in by 7:30. I parked in the woods, then let myself in with the spare key he always kept in the old birdhouse out back. Some habits never die. The cabin was still quiet. It smelled like cedar and betrayal. I sat in the shadows, behind the sofa, and waited. I could hear every tick of the clock on the wall, every creak of the old boards underfoot. I was calm, focused. I wasn't here to scream. I wasn't here to cry. I was here to end it. Right on schedule, I heard the crunch of gravel outside. His truck pulled in. Doors opened. Closed. Footsteps on the porch. Then the door creaked open. I stayed still as he walked in, humming to himself. He set a bag on the counter. Probably groceries or supplies. He was moving slow. Carefree. Like a man with no conscience. I stood up. He saw me. Stopped cold. "Daniel?" he said, blinking. "What are you?" I didn't let him finish. "I know," I said. "Everything." He opened his mouth again, but I raised a finger and shook my head. "Don't lie to me. Not here. Not now." His face changed then. Not guilt. Not panic. Something else. Something hard. "Look, I didn't mean. You meant every second." I cut in. "You planned this. You looked me in the eye while you were sneaking behind my back with my wife. You knew exactly what you were doing." He stepped closer. "Daniel, listen. It just happened. We didn't plan for it. I was lonely after your mother and Rachel. Don't say her name." Silence. I took a step toward him. "You took the one person I trusted more than anything, and you used her to feed your own ego." His jaw clenched. "You don't understand what our marriage was like. She told me things." I snapped. I lunged. My shoulder hit his chest, and we both crashed into the counter, knocking over the bag of supplies. He stumbled back, hit the wall, then charged at me like the old man he was, fists flying in desperation. But he was slower than me. I ducked the first punch, caught the second, and slammed my elbow into his ribs. He grunted, backed up, breathing hard. "You were supposed to raise me," I shouted. "Not betray me." He grabbed a lamp from the table and swung it. It clipped my shoulder. I winced, then drove my knee into his gut. He dropped the lamp and hit the ground. Still, he tried to rise. I kicked the lamp away, then pinned him to the floor. I looked into his eyes, those same tired, graying eyes I'd once looked up to. Now they were full of something new. Fear. "Get up," I said, stepping back. "You want to fight like a man? Then fight." He stood slowly, breathing hard, hands shaking. He threw another punch, wild, clumsy. I caught it and drove my fist into his face. He dropped like a felled tree. I stood over him, chest heaving, heart pounding. It was done. I didn't kill him, but I left him broken, bruised, humiliated. He tried to speak through a busted lip. I leaned down close. "If I ever see you again," I whispered, "I will finish what I started. Stay away from her. Stay away from me. From everything." He didn't nod, didn't blink. He just lay there, bleeding. I walked out of the cabin without another word. The sun was rising through the trees, and I wasn't his son anymore. After the fight, I drove straight home. I didn't look back. My hands were sore. My knuckles split. But I felt clean. Like something inside me had finally settled. One traitor down. One more to go. Rachel was still at work. I had time. I showered, patched up my knuckles, and sat on the porch with Buddy, running through what I had left to do. Confronting her wouldn't be enough. She needed to feel it, what I felt. She needed to lose something, the way she'd thrown me away. That's when I finalized the plan. It started with her birthday. It was 2 weeks away. I told her I was planning something special, just the two of us. She beamed when I said it, kissed me on the cheek, called me sweet. She had no idea what was coming. I used the time to tighten every screw in my trap. I gathered the recordings, the camera footage, and the burner phone I'd planted in my dad's truck. I printed out key messages and stills, framed them in a nice little folder. Neat. Presentable. The kind of thing you could hand to a lawyer or news station if needed. I found a downtown restaurant she'd always wanted to try. Reservations were hard to get, but I knew a guy. I told her to take the day off, booked her a spa in the morning, hair appointment in the afternoon. Told her to wear something fancy for the dinner. She thought she was being celebrated. She was about to be exposed. The day came. She left for her spa, laughing, light on her feet. I watched her from the window, and wondered how many lies she'd told with that same smile. While she was gone, I slipped into her car and placed the folder in the glove compartment. On top of it, I left a short note. "This is the real gift. Enjoy." Then I waited. Dinner was set for 7:30. I dressed well. Black shirt. No tie. Clean shaven. Calm. She walked into the restaurant like a dream. Hair done up. Makeup perfect. Smiling like the queen of the world. She slid into the booth and kissed me on the cheek. "You look amazing," she said. I smiled back. "So do you." We ordered drinks. She chatted about the spa, her massage, the stylist. I listened, nodding, waiting, watching. Then I said, "I left something for you. In your car." She blinked. "What?" "In the glove box." She hesitated. "Should I look at it now?" I nodded. "Yeah. Now." She frowned but got up, grabbing her keys. I watched through the window as she walked across the street to the parking garage. Opened the door. Reached in. And froze. She stood there for a long time, staring down into the car. Then she opened the folder. I couldn't see her face from where I sat, but I saw her shoulders drop. Her body stiffen. She didn't come back inside. She just stood there, leaning against the car like her legs might give out. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Finally, she walked back in. Slower now. The color drained from her face. Her hands trembling. She sat down across from me. Didn't say a word. "You want to talk about it?" I asked. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. I reached across the table. Calm. Steady. "You lied to me. 4 months. Maybe years. You smiled in my face and slept with my father. You made me believe I was the problem. You broke something in me I didn't even know could break." Her eyes filled with tears. "Daniel, No," I said. You don't get to talk. You had your turn. This is mine. She wiped her face, hand shaking. What are you going to do? I leaned in close, voice cold. I already did it. I exposed you. You just haven't seen the fallout yet. She blinked. What do you mean? I sent copies of that folder to your mother, your boss. And just in case, a lawyer who's going to handle the divorce papers you'll get on Monday. Her mouth opened, closed. I don't want your apology. I don't want explanations. I want you to feel what I felt. The silence, the betrayal, the gut punch that never ends. She looked shattered. Good. I stood. You can keep the folder. Consider it a souvenir. I walked out of the restaurant without another word. Behind me, the glass door shut tight. And just like that, Rachel Walker was behind me, too. By the time Monday rolled around, the wheels were already in motion. Rachel got served at work, right in front of her co-workers at the bank. I'd asked the process server to be polite, but unmistakable. She called me 3 times that morning. I didn't answer. That afternoon, I got a single text. Please, can we talk before you do something we can't fix? I didn't reply, because something was already broken beyond repair, and it wasn't mine to fix. The call stopped by the 3rd day, but the effects didn't. Word spreads fast in a town like Lincoln. Not because people are cruel, just curious. I never said a word about what happened, but I didn't have to. The truth was stitched into the community like a dirty secret no one could keep quiet. My dad vanished. His truck disappeared from his driveway. His phone went straight to voicemail. A neighbor said he saw him packing up boxes, loading them into a U-Haul. Good. Let him run. Let him disappear into whatever pit he belonged in. Rachel, on the other hand, stayed. But her world shrank. Her boss demoted her. Her friends ghosted her. One of her co-workers, Lena, I think, sent me a message. Said Rachel had been crying in the break room for hours. Said she never saw it coming. Neither did I, Lena. Neither did I. A week after the restaurant, Rachel showed up at the shop. I was under a car when I heard the bell over the front door. Jim waved me over. Your wife's here, he said. Soon to be ex, I corrected. I wiped my hands and stepped out front. She looked rough, hair unkempt, eyes swollen, posture crumpled like a paper bag. I just want to talk, she said quietly. I crossed my arms. Say what you need to say. Then go. She hesitated. I made a mistake. I raised an eyebrow. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. Sleeping with your husband's father? That's a decision. Tears welled up in her eyes. I didn't mean for it to go that far. You chose to go that far. Every week. Every lie. Every smile at dinner while I talked about my dad like he was still worth admiring. She looked away, ashamed. I don't know who I am anymore. I do, I said. You're the woman who destroyed a marriage and ripped apart a family because you were bored. She took a step toward me. Please, Daniel. Don't let this be how we end. I looked her dead in the eye. This is exactly how we end. She didn't cry then. She just nodded, turned around, and walked out the door. I went back under the car and finished tightening the last bolt. That night, I sat on the back porch with Buddy. The air was quiet. The kind of quiet that settles after a storm. I wasn't angry anymore. Not sad either. Just free. I'd burned the rot out of my life. Tore out the infection. And yeah, it left scars. But I could live with scars. Better than living with a lie.